They say legends are not born on stages, they are born the moment a trembling voice finds the courage to rise above the noise of the world. And for one boy from Birmingham, that moment was a single note, a note played in a broken pub, on a broken night, by a boy from a broken home. And that note would echo across decades, across generations, across history. This is the real story of how Ozzy Osbourne's first performance changed everything. Before we begin, hit subscribe on Voices of Darkness. If you love legendary stories of rock icons, this is your home. Like and share this video with friends who love Ozzy and heavy metal history. ****. Birmingham, the city that built a rebel. Birmingham was not the kind of city where dreams were born. It was where dreams survived or died trying. In the late 1940s and 1950s, it was a place of smokestacks, factories, grey skies, and harder lives. The air smelled like metal and desperation. It was a city of noise, iron pounding, machines rumbling, voices shouting to be heard above the chaos. And on December 3, 1948, in a tiny hospital at the edge of Aston, a child entered the world who would one day be called the Prince of Darkness. But in that moment, he was just John Michael Osbourne, a boy whose future seemed no brighter than the street lamps flickering outside. His father, Jack, worked long hours at GEC factories. His mother, Lillian, had jobs that varied: factory work, day shifts, night shifts, anything to keep the children fed. Ozzy was the fourth of 6 children, squeezed into a small home where the floorboards creaked and the walls echoed with arguments, laughter, and hunger all at once. By age 11, he already carried a nickname, Ozzy. No one remembers exactly how it started, maybe a school joke, maybe because Osbourne was too long for the cruel boys of Aston. But the name stuck, and the boy wearing it struggled quietly. He struggled with school, with dyslexia, with confidence, with a voice inside him telling him he wasn't meant for the world he was born into. He once said, "I didn't think I'd be anything. I thought I'd just disappear into the factories like everyone else." Yet something flickered inside him, a craving for attention, for expression, for escape. Something musical. The moment music found him. The first time Ozzy realized music could be a lifeline was unexpected. It happened when he was a teenager, standing in his small bedroom, staring at a cheap transistor radio. He had saved money for it by doing small jobs around the neighborhood. One evening, while scanning through stations, he heard the Beatles for the very first time. It was "She Loves You." The sound hit him like a bolt of electricity. Ozzy stopped breathing, stopped moving, stopped thinking, because for the first time in his life, something made sense. The melody was simple, yet powerful. The harmonies were warm. The energy was rebellious. And he thought, if I could make people feel even 1% of what I'm feeling right now, that would be worth living for. He didn't know how to play an instrument. He didn't know how to sing. He didn't know anything. But he knew he wanted music. He saved money to buy a small microphone and an amplifier from a pawn shop. They barely worked. The mic buzzed. The amp crackled. But he didn't care. He practiced alone, singing into a mirror, imitating Lennon, Presley, anyone whose records he could get his hands on. He wasn't good. Not yet. But he had something. Soul. Prison. Poverty. And the road blocked ahead. Life didn't magically improve. Ozzy drifted between odd jobs: slaughterhouse worker, plumber's apprentice, factory helper. He was fired often. He was lost. He sometimes felt invisible, desperate and young. He made a terrible decision. He attempted a burglary, not a glamorous one, just a foolish late-night act from a boy who didn't know where he belonged. He got caught, sent to Winson Green Prison. Those months behind bars scarred him deeply. But they also carved something into him, a realization that he needed to change, to find a path, to become something more than a statistic. While in prison, he thought often of music, of that Beatles moment, of the feeling that the world could be bigger. When he was released, he made a vow: I'm either going to make it in music, or I'm going to disappear trying. It wasn't confidence, it was survival. The band before destiny. Ozzy placed an advertisement in a local music shop. Ozzy, Zig, vocalist looking for band. He decorated the paper with strange symbols and doodles. He couldn't afford proper ink, so he wrote it with whatever he found. Across Birmingham, 2 young men, Tony Iommi and Bill Ward, noticed the ad. They didn't take it seriously at first. The name Ozzy Zig sounded like a clown act, but when they visited his small home and saw Ozzy standing there, shy, awkward, desperate, and holding his cheap microphone, something clicked. There was a hunger in him, a fire they didn't see in other singers. They invited him to audition. With them was bassist Geezer Butler, a man whose mind lived somewhere between philosophy, imagination, and the darkness of Birmingham's industrial streets. Together, they formed a band named Earth. But Earth was not yet Black Sabbath, not yet legendary, not yet iconic. They were just four boys trying to survive with guitars, drumsticks, and hope that they practiced in basements, pubs, warehouses, anywhere they could be loud without someone throwing them out. Tony's guitar had a distinctive sound due to an accident at the factory that injured his fingertips. Geezer's bass was deep, moody, emotional. Bill's drumming was raw, thunderous, and Ozzy's voice was a wild thing, unpredictable, haunting, powerful, trembling with emotion. But still, no one knew them, no one cared. Until one night changed everything. The first performance, it was a cold Birmingham night. Fog rolling through the narrow streets, factory lights flickering like dying stars. Earth had been invited, or perhaps tolerated, to perform at a small pub. The pub was dimly lit, filled with cigarette smoke so thick it looked like clouds drifting indoors. The floor was sticky, the tables uneven, the stage nothing more than a few planks nailed together. But for Ozzy Osbourne, it was everything. He stood behind a curtain, if you could call a dirty bedsheet a curtain, and tried to calm his breathing. His hands shook, his heart hammered. He whispered to himself, "You have nothing else. This is it. Don't fail now." Behind him, Tony tuned his guitar. Geezer adjusted his bass. Bill tapped the drums softly. None of them knew that this night would become the seed of a global musical revolution. For them, it was just another gig. For Ozzy, it was the night he would live or die trying. The audience didn't care about them. Most were drunk, shouting, laughing. Some didn't even look at the stage. Ozzy peeked through the sheet and saw only indifference. His chest tightened, his throat dried, his knees weakened. What if he froze? What if his voice cracked? What if they laughed? What if he failed his only chance? But then something happened. Tony played a single guitar note, one long, heavy, haunting note, and it cut through the pub. Like a blade, the room fell silent. People turned, heads lifted, eyes focused, because that one note sounded like nothing Birmingham had ever heard. It wasn't cheerful, it wasn't fast, it wasn't pretty, it was dark, raw, heavy, and real, exactly like the city they lived in. Ozzy felt something rise in him, a courage he never knew, a voice he thought he didn't have. He stepped onto the stage. The lights hit his face. He gripped the microphone, and then he sang, not softly, not timidly, not like a boy afraid of the world. He sang like a man who had clawed his way out of prison, poverty, and hopelessness. His voice soared through the room, sharp, haunting, electrifying. The crowd froze. Some gasped. Some turned toward the stage with wide eyes. Ozzy Osbourne, the boy who didn't believe he'd be anything, suddenly owned that pub. People moved closer to the stage. The noise died. The attention sharpened. By the end of the song, the pub erupted in applause. Not polite applause, real applause, the kind that shakes the walls and feeds the soul. Ozzy's throat tightened with emotion. He couldn't speak. He could barely breathe. Tony looked at him, stunned. Geezer smiled slightly, a rare moment. Bill tapped Ozzy's shoulder like a proud older brother. Ozzy walked off stage and whispered, "That was it. That was the moment. I'm never going back. Music is my life now." And he meant it. The note that started a revolution, asterisk. That pub performance didn't make them famous overnight, but it changed something far more important. It changed their belief. Tony realized he had found a voice powerful enough to carry his dark guitar sound. Geezer realized lyrics could explore the hidden fears of society. Bill realized the drums could shake souls, not just ears. And Ozzy realized he had been born for the stage. Everything after that moment, Black Sabbath, the albums, the controversies, the tours, the glory, all of it, began in that pub, on that night, with that one note. A trembling boy stepped on stage, and a legend walked off it. How that night echoed across history. Rock wasn't ready for what was coming. Metal didn't exist yet, but it would. Black Sabbath didn't just make music. They invented a sound, a culture, a movement, a rebellion. And at the center of it was the same boy who once thought he'd be nothing. Ozzy's voice became a symbol of pain, of power, of survival. The echo of that first performance would travel through albums like Black Sabbath 1970, paranoid master of reality, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and, decades later, through his solo career, Blizzard of Ozz, Diary of a Madman, No More Tears, every scream, every note, every haunting melody, all of it traced back to that first night, that first step, that first moment, that single note. And now, as you watch this story, remember this: Ozzy Osbourne didn't rise because he was born a legend. He rose because, in a tiny pub in Birmingham, he found the courage to sing one note that would change the world. If you love Ozzy Osbourne, prove it. Share this video, like it, comment your favorite Ozzy song. Let the world know that his legacy still lives in your heart. And subscribe to Voices of Darkness. We are on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and your support makes all the difference. Prove your love for Ozzy. Hit subscribe now.